Hey everyone, welcome back and thank you for choosing to hang out with me again. This week we can thank viewer Peace World for our topic. We're going to discuss Martin Gurule and his mark on Texas history. Martin was able to escape death row in Texas after receiving the sentence of lethal injection for a double murder he committed some years prior. The outcome of this case was unexpected. So without further ado, let's talk about this. Sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Martin Edward Gurule was born on November 7, 1969 to parents Eugene and Mary Lillian in Corpus Christi, Texas. Before Martin had turned 1, his mother tragically passed away. His grandmother, Amalia Merez, tried to fill that maternal role for the child by assisting Eugene in raising him. From early on, it was apparent that Martin was very intelligent, possessing an IQ of 140. He could speak 4 languages and was a very polite young man who did anything for anyone he cared for. He attended Ray's High School where he was in the honors program. During high school, he met a girl named Melissa Smith who was his girlfriend until his arrest. Once graduated, he gained employment at the Corpus Christi State School where he assisted people who were intellectually disabled. Martin was very focused, and if he wanted something, he got it, by any means. He began to steal from businesses and commit credit card fraud. Martin felt stealing from others was very easy, and it was a means for quick money. He was caught several times for these crimes, but he received very light punishments. It seems these earlier crimes were just the building blocks for what was to come. Late into the evening of October 12, 1992, Martin arrived at a restaurant called U&I. He claimed he was invited by the co-owner, Mike Piperis. Reportedly, Mike was fearful that Martin was planning to turn him in for possible involvement of tax evasion. Martin stated he had no intentions of robbing the establishment, but when the conversation became heated, a gun was pulled. Martin claims Mike and Anthony Staton, an employee of the restaurant, were shot in self-defense. Investigators didn't buy this story, though. The positions of the bodies didn't support his claims. Anthony was found sitting on a chair and was shot in the back of the head. Mike was found in a similar position in front of an open safe and was also shot in the back of the head. It was also discovered that Melissa, his girlfriend, previously worked at U&I and was fired the week prior. A warrant was issued for Melissa's apartment where police found money and receipts connecting the couple to the crime. Together, they had stolen around $9,000 and 2 lives. Both Martin and Melissa were arrested and tried for the crime. Prosecution theorized the couple had jointly planned to rob the business as a means of retaliation. Martin's previous convictions only proved precedents to this type of behavior. In July of 1993, Martin was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. For her involvement, Melissa received 25 years in prison. Martin was transferred to the Ellis Unit in Huntsville, Texas. He attempted several appeals, but all were denied, and Martin refused to just lay down and accept his fate. Luckily for him, he became one of 150 other death row inmates to be selected to participate in the Work Capable program. This was a trial program which allowed inmates to perform supervised work within the prison. They were not only able to move freely, but also able to interact with other non-death row inmates. They were allowed to use sharp instruments and weren't even escorted with handcuffs. The program gave very lax restrictions on the prison's worst offenders. Martin worked in the garment factory making guards' pants. He realized his new position was the perfect opportunity to transfer contraband, which would usually be unattainable. He began to mastermind a plot straight from a movie, and in order to pull it off, he brought on 6 other men: Eric Cathy, James Clayton, Henry Dunn, Gustavo Garcia, Howard Guidry, and Panchai Wilkerson. On November 26, 1998, the plan was put into motion. The men created dummies out of pillows and blankets to serve as decoys during lights out. They wanted the illusion they were in their bunks to not raise suspicion. They were let out of their cells for dinner and managed to slink away undetected. They hid until lights out, and around 8:45 they made their way into the recreational yard where they cut into the first fence with a hacksaw. Once into the main yard, they scaled the roof in order to prepare for the big break. It was like they were going to war. They used black felt pens to darken their uniforms to better blend into the dark. They created makeshift armor out of cardboard and magazines to defend against the razor wire. They obtained leather gloves for Martin's job and each doubled on clothing for further protection. They waited for close to 4 hours. The plan was to just run and get over the fences. Martin supposedly had a getaway car waiting on the nearby highway. Once they made it to the car, the group planned to head to Florida and rob banks along the way. Just after midnight, they made a break for it. They jumped down from the roof, still undetected. The men made it to the 2 outer chain-link perimeter fences, which were topped with razor wire. By the time Martin reached the top of the second fence, a guard spotted the men. He sounded the alarm, alerting the guards in the towers. The guards began firing at the men with AR-15s from 200 feet away. As soon as the firing started, the other 6 men surrendered, while Martin was able to clear the final fence. He made his way into the swampy woods surrounding Ellis, and the unthinkable was now a reality. A death row inmate was on the loose. His escape set off a frenzy amongst the media and law enforcement. Helicopters, boats, 500-foot patrols, and many tracking dogs were brought out to search the 11,672 acres surrounding the property. It became an all-out effort to catch him. But the terrain was unforgiving, filled with thick woods and creek beds. Within Martin's cell, they found literature on survival tips for the wilderness, so they had a feeling this would not be easy. By the following day, Martin still hadn't been captured. Prison officials felt Martin hadn't broken past the woods, so a perimeter was set up on the roads surrounding Ellis. So if Martin chose to cross out of the woods, it would be difficult with the lines of officers standing guard. For almost a week, they continued to search. They were convinced he was lying in wait in the woods planning his next move. They knew eventually he would have to surface since he needed basic necessities, and the area was mostly swamps. Sightings of Martin were being reported all around Texas. Law enforcement offered a $5,000 reward and drew up wanted posters plastered with his face. These posters were distributed around the state, online, and in Mexico in case he had made it that far. Oddly, Martin gained a following who were rooting for him. His ex-girlfriend Melissa reportedly told America's Most Wanted she admired Martin for what he was able to accomplish. And she wasn't the only one. Even a columnist for the Times admitted they hoped Martin could get away. Texas Governor George Bush, though, was not so supportive. He was very upset with the news of his breakout. He called in the Texas Rangers to investigate how this could have even happened. But the largest manhunt in Texas history was coming to an end. On the 7th day, Mark Humphrey and Doug Smith, who both worked for the prison system, decided to spend their day off fishing. They set out along the Trinity River when around 5:40 in the afternoon, they came across what they thought was a mannequin. But Smith recalled upon closer inspection, the mannequin had fingernails, which they don't usually possess. They looped a rope around the wrist of the corpse so it wouldn't float off and called authorities. The hunt was finally over. Authorities confirmed the body was that of Martin Gurule. The autopsy report performed revealed his cause of death was due to drowning, Despite the discovery of a superficial gunshot wound to his back, it was concluded the drowning was due to the extra layers of clothing and his homemade armor. It seems Martin underestimated the depth of the water levels and must have lost his footing. All of the extra weight helped sink his body even further, making it hard for him to fight his way from the murky water. This, mixed with exhaustion, was the deadly duo that did him in, or so investigators believe. Martin's body was found about a mile from the facility, and due to the level of bloating, it was determined he died only a few hours after the escape. Martin was interred at Rose Hill Memorial Park in Corpus Christi with his mother. His jailbreak raised questions regarding security at Texas prisons. They opened an investigation into how this could have happened. There were some faulty issues with the alarms on the fencing. The pressure sensor that sound the alarms were installed on the opposite side. The motion sensor cameras were installed, but all were pointing in the wrong direction, and guard towers were not tall enough for a clear view of the entire yard. The fencing was also made of a cheaper metal that was easier to cut. Plus, it was chain link, which made it easier to climb. But ultimately, it was chalked up to human error, with many employees being too negligent in their duties. The warden was demoted, his assistants transferred, and many correctional officers reprimanded. The work programs were also canceled, and more motion detectors and razor wire was installed in the yard. Eventually, the death row unit in Ellis was far too overcrowded and had to be moved to the Terrell unit located outside of Livingston, Texas. The move to Terrell allowed for solitary confinement for the offenders rather than having 2 prisoners per cell. Martin Gurule was the first successful breakout from Texas death row since Raymond Hamilton, a member of the notorious Barrow Gang, in 1934. Out of the 6 other men, only 2 remain on death row. So this was my first time covering a prison breakout story, and I thought at first it was going to be my first non-murder related story, but it turns out that wasn't the case. But still, it was interesting to see the prisoner get away without really getting away. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below and we can chat. If you found this to be interesting, please consider giving it a thumbs up and let YouTube know you want more. And lastly, if you're not subscribed, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. Also, I forgot to mention in the opening, shout out to Blix as well. He's a viewer and he gave me a little more information on Martin. I always say it, but it's because it's true. You, the viewers, are the best. Thank you for making my week by spending it with me. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye, friends.